Most Americans spend 40 years working, believing they're building wealth. They wake up early, work harder every year, chase raises, promotions, and bonuses, convinced that if they just keep going, everything will eventually work out. But here's what actually happens. They trade their entire life for a paycheck that disappears within days. Rent, bills, car payments, subscriptions, a little comfort to make the stress feel worth it. And before they realize it, the money is gone. Again. They never experience what I call the money snowball effect. The moment when money finally starts working for them instead of the other way around. And the scariest part, most people don't realize they're trapped in this cycle while it's happening. They realize it at 50, at 60, when time is gone, energy is gone, and the only option left is to keep working. Not because they failed, not because they were lazy, but because no one ever showed them how the game actually works. Hi, I'm Sam. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why 90% of Americans never trigger the money snowball effect, and more importantly, how you can be in that top 10% that does. Because look, this isn't about making more money. You can double your income tomorrow and still never experience this effect. This is about understanding a fundamental principle that separates people who build actual wealth from people who just work hard and hope for the best. And if you care about building real wealth, not hype, not shortcuts, just proven money principles, make sure you subscribe to the channel because everything here is designed to help you think differently about money and take control of your future. So let me start with something that's going to sound harsh, but stay with me. The Federal Reserve published data in 2023 showing that 63% of Americans couldn't cover a $500 emergency without going into debt. Now, you've probably heard that statistic before, but here's what nobody tells you. The median household income in America is around $74,000 a year. Think about that for a second. People earning $74,000 annually, that's over $6,000 a month, can't find $500. That's not an income problem. That's something else entirely. And this is where it gets interesting, because when researchers at the University of Chicago actually studied spending patterns, they found something wild. Most people experience what they call lifestyle creep at almost the exact same rate as their income increases. Make $50,000, your lifestyle costs $50,000. Get a raise to $65,000. Congratulations, your lifestyle now costs $65,000. It's like, imagine you're trying to fill a bathtub, but someone keeps pulling the drain plug higher as the water rises. You're adding more water, but the tub never actually fills. And this is the first reason people never trigger the money snowball effect. They never create the initial gap between what they earn and what they spend. And without that gap, nothing can snowball. You're just running in place. But here's what makes this even more frustrating. It's not like people don't know they should be saving. A survey from Bankrate in 2024 found that 74% of Americans said they understood the importance of saving for retirement. 3/4 of people know they should be doing this, but only 28% said they felt they were saving enough. So there's this massive disconnect between knowledge and action, and that gap, that's where the money snowball effect goes to die for most people. Okay, so what exactly is the money snowball effect? Here's the simple version. It's when your money starts making more money than you do, or at least when your money starts doing significant work alongside you. And once it starts, it accelerates faster than most people think is even possible. Let me give you real numbers to show you what I mean. Let's say you manage to save $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. Now, if you just stick that under your mattress, in 10 years, you'd have $60,000. That's fine. That's linear growth. But here's where the snowball starts. If you invest that same $500 a month and earn an average 8% annual return, which, look, is roughly what the S&P 500 has averaged over the long term, after 10 years, you don't have $60,000. You have $91,473. You put in $60,000, but your money made you an extra $31,473. Your money earned over half of what you put in. Now watch what happens in year 20. You'd have contributed $120,000 total, but your account, it's worth $294,510. Your money made you $174,510. Your money now earned more than you contributed. By year 30, you contributed $180,000. Your account is worth $745,179. Your money made you $565,179, more than 3 times what you put in. That's the snowball. Early on, you're doing all the work, but eventually your money starts doing more work than you do. And the longer it runs, the more dramatic it becomes. But here's the thing that blows my mind. If you wait just 10 years to start, so same $500 a month, same 8% return, but you start at 35 instead of 25, you end up with $745,179 instead of $1.74 million. That 10-year delay costs you literally $1 million. So if the math is this straightforward, why do 90% of people never experience it? Because the math isn't the hard part, the psychology is. First blocker, instant gratification bias. There's a famous study from the National Bureau of Economic Research that found people value $100 today almost as much as they value $120 in a year. Think about that for a second. A guaranteed 20% return, and people still choose today. Your brain is literally wired to undervalue the future, and the money snowball effect requires you to value the future more than the present. This is why the average car payment in America is now $739 per month for a new vehicle, according to Edmunds. People are financing $40,000 cars that depreciate 20% the moment they drive off the lot, because the brain says, "I want this now," louder than it says, "This is financial suicide." Second blocker, what I call financial invisibility. Most people cannot tell you, right now, without checking, how much they spent last month. Total. Groceries, plus restaurants, plus coffee shops, plus delivery. Most people have absolutely no idea. And this invisibility is by design. Companies have spent billions figuring out how to make spending feel painless. Tap to pay, one-click checkout, subscription services that auto-renew. The entire financial system is engineered to keep you from feeling the pain of spending, because when you don't feel it, you spend more. Third blocker, the mythology of the big break. Look, we've been fed this story that wealth comes from one big event, a promotion, a business success, an inheritance. And so people wait. They wait for their ship to come in instead of building a fleet of rowboats. But here's what actually happens for most wealthy people. They triggered the money snowball effect early, and they let time do the heavy lifting. That's it. It's boring. It's unsexy. And that's exactly why most people never do it. There's this incredible stat from Fidelity's 2021 review of their retirement accounts. They found that their best performing investors were either dead or inactive, meaning they literally forgot they had the account. The people who did nothing outperformed the people actively trying to optimize. Why? Because they accidentally avoided the fourth blocker, impatience. They didn't panic sell. They didn't constantly tinker. They just let the snowball roll. And this is the thing that frustrates me most, because we've created this entire culture around hustle and optimization and doing more, when sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is start the snowball and then leave it alone. Fifth blocker, and this one's subtle, social comparison. Your coworker buys a new truck. Your friend posts vacation photos from Bali. Your neighbor renovates their kitchen, and suddenly your perfectly fine life feels inadequate. A study from the American Psychological Association found that people who frequently compare themselves to others on social media report higher levels of debt and lower levels of savings. It's not that social media causes debt directly, it's that it creates this constant pressure to signal status, and signaling status costs money. The money snowball effect requires you to be okay looking poor while you're actually building wealth. And in a culture that equates spending with success, that's really hard.
All right, so how do you actually trigger this effect? There are 4 non-negotiable steps. Step 1, create the gap. You need to engineer a difference between what you earn and what you spend. I don't care if it's $100 a month or $1,000 a month. The amount matters less than the consistency. Here's what I tell people. Track every dollar for 1 month. Not to judge yourself, just to see reality. Use an app like Mint or YNAB, or just keep a simple spreadsheet. Every purchase, every subscription, every coffee. Write it down. Then identify the 3 expenses that give you the least value relative to their cost. Not the 3 biggest expenses, the 3 that deliver the least satisfaction or utility. For most people, this is stuff like subscription services they forgot about, eating out because they didn't plan meals, convenience purchases because they didn't think ahead. Cut 1, just 1, bank the difference. That's your gap. Let me give you a real example. The average American spends $219 per month on subscription services, according to a 2023 C+R research study. But when asked, people estimate they spend $86. There's a $133 gap between perception and reality. If you just audit your subscriptions and cancel the ones you don't actively use, you could probably find $50 to $100 a month without changing your lifestyle at all. Step 2. Automate before you negotiate. Here's where people screw this up. They try to rely on discipline. I'll invest whatever's left over at the end of the month. No, nothing is ever left over. You set up an automatic transfer the day after your paycheck hits. The money moves before you see it, before you can spend it, before you can rationalize why this month is different. A study from the Employee Benefit Research Institute found that people who automate their savings save 2.5 times more than people who do it manually. The difference isn't willpower, it's systems. Your brain can't miss money it never sees. This is why 401k contributions work so well. The money comes out before it hits your checking account. You need to replicate that same psychology with your investments. Step 3. Invest in assets that compound. Look, there are a million investment strategies, and I'm not here to tell you which stocks to pick, but the Money Snowball Effect requires compound growth. That means your returns need to generate their own returns. For most people, this means low-cost index funds. An S&P 500 index fund isn't exciting, it's not going to make you feel smart at parties, but over 30 years, it turns disciplined saving into legitimate wealth. The average actively managed fund underperforms the market 80% of the time over 15 years, according to S&P Dow Jones indices. You don't need to be clever, you need to be consistent. Here's what I recommend for most people. Open a Roth IRA if you're eligible. Max it out if you can. That's $7,000 a year as of 2024. If you can't max it, contribute what you can. Put it in a target date retirement fund or a simple S&P 500 index fund. Rebalance once a year, otherwise don't touch it. Step 4. Increase the gap over time. This is the accelerant. Every time you get a raise, a bonus, a tax refund, before you adjust your lifestyle, increase your automatic investment. Let's say you're investing $500 a month and you get a $3,600 annual raise. That's $300 a month. Take half, just $150, and add it to your investment. You still get to enjoy $150 more per month, but you just increased your snowball by 30%. Do this every time your income increases, and you'll compress 30 years of wealth building in 20. Here's the math on that. If you start with $500 a month and increase it by just $50 every year for 30 years, assuming 8% returns, you don't end up with $745,179. You end up with $1,186,166. Same time period, just incremental increases, an extra $440,000. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Sam, this sounds great, but I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't have an extra $500 a month. And look, I hear you, but here's the uncomfortable truth. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American household spends $3,526 per year on entertainment, $2,375 on alcohol and tobacco, and $4,015 on food away from home. That's $9,196 per year, $826 per month on 3 categories. I'm not saying cut all of that, I'm saying most people have more flexibility than they think. They just haven't done the math. They haven't actually looked at their spending and asked, is this current pleasure worth my future freedom? Because that's the real question. Every dollar you spend today is a dollar that can't compound for your future. Every $100 you spend at 30 years old could be worth $1,000 by the time you're 60 if you invested it instead. That's not deprivation, that's a trade-off, and you get to decide which side of that trade you want to be on. And here's the thing that gives me hope. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be consistent. Starting late is infinitely better than not starting at all. If you're 40 and you start investing $500 a month with 8% returns, by 65, you'll have $475,000. Is it less than if you started at 25? Yeah, but it's about $475,000 more than doing nothing. If you're 50 and you're thinking, it's too late for me, listen, $500 a month for 15 years at 8% is $174,000. Your money will make you $84,000. Is it as dramatic as starting at 25? No, but $174,000 is a hell of a lot better than zero. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Here's something else people don't talk about: the psychological shift that happens when you start seeing the snowball roll. In the first year, nothing feels different. You're putting in $500 a month. Maybe you've got $6,300 in your account after returns. That doesn't feel life-changing. But around year 5 or 6, something happens. You start noticing that your account grows by thousands of dollars some months, and you didn't add that. The market did. Your investments did. That's when the psychology flips. You start getting more excited about contributions because you can see them multiplying. You start protecting that account because it represents real future freedom. So here's what I want you to do. Today, not tomorrow, today. Open your banking app, look at your spending from last month, find the actual number. Then ask yourself, can I create a $200 gap? Can I create $100? Can I create $50? Whatever number you land on, set up an automatic transfer to a brokerage account. If you don't have one to open one today, Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, it doesn't matter. Put that money into a target date retirement fund or an S&P 500 index fund. And then do nothing. Let time and compound interest do what they've been doing for centuries. Write down today's date. Put it somewhere you'll see it. Because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you're going to look back at today as the day everything changed. The Money Snowball Effect isn't magic. It's not secret. It's just math plus time plus the discipline to start and the wisdom to not stop. 90% of people will watch this video and do nothing. They'll nod along, they'll think, that makes sense, and then they'll go back to their lives and nothing will change. Be in the 10% that takes action. If this helped you, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me what your gap number is going to be. I'll see you in the next one.